It's 5 years from today. All of these multi-agent systems are talking. Our systems are collaborating. What does it mean to be human?
You're not going to get replaced by AI. You're actually going to get replaced by someone who's really good at AI. The natural choice there is to get good at AI yourself. Pre-AI, you could set out a business strategy that is 3 years long and it'll be pretty viable. Nowadays, you're lucky if you could get away with a year or like 6 months because things just change so quickly. New technology comes out that is absolutely changing what's possible. Does mean now there's even more opportunity. There is more a chance to really disrupt the industry.
Like how many AI agents have been deployed across the Relevance?
It's probably over 100 to 200,000 every month. An AI agent, not just able to generate things, but it's actually able to take actions on your behalf. An LLM is really good at like writing emails, but an AI agent can now actually not just write the email, but actually send the email on your behalf. I really wanted to help get the world exposed to essentially machine learning and AI and bring it to the workplace. That was something I found a lot of joy whenever I can help someone automate like something that was really manual and tedious.
Seeing the growth of what you've gone through the last couple of years, where do you see the world and the world with AI agents changing over the next few years? Welcome to the Fat. My name is Frank Grief, and I started this podcast after I sold a business for $180 million with my two brothers. It's part of my mission to raise $1 million for Children's Cancer Institute by writing a cookbook called Eat with Purpose. In this series, I'm going to bring different types of founders on for you can share in their journeys and their lessons and insights. I'm also going to bring on guests who are in the middle of scaling their business. I want to make sure the challenges are relative to you and make sure you can take insights that you can use in each and every day in your business. I hope you enjoy. Jackie Ko, co-founder and CEO of Relevance AI. Welcome to Chew the Fat.
Oh, thank you.
Where I'd love to start is, what's the early context in your childhood that made you the person you are today?
Oh, early context in childhood. Probably gaming. I gamed a lot. One of the things that I tell people, I probably learned about economics, like supply and demand through MapleStory, like marketplaces, etc. Like merchanting. Actually, that's what it's called. So that was really good, like almost like business lesson. I have a pretty strong grit mentality. I shouldn't self-describe that, but I usually don't like falter or like give up that easily. And I think that's also via games. Like in order for you to complete something, you have to die like, a bajillion times. Gaming's definitely played a big part. I think the other big part is I'm just different. Growing up, I grew up mostly in Australia, but also in China. So for like 5 years, when I did my primary school, it was in China. And that was very academically, because I was in a boarding school, pretty much went from, I think it was like 8 to 7. You were pretty much always studying. And then moving back to here, I could see like the polar opposite of cultures. And that also helped me have like a more, I guess, open view about everything. It's like, okay, well, this is why this works. This is also how another way works. Don't have a strong opinion for like either, but like, those kind of things I think helped shape who I am. And also my parents was definitely not the classic tiger parents type. They tried to be, but they realized very quickly I don't thrive in that kind of environment. So they kind of let me be a bit more. So yeah.
And was there always an interest in like the economics or the business side that you like during those high school years you were thinking about like one day I'm going to do a business? Was there anything like that?
Not particularly. I think I always just enjoyed building and figuring out like inefficiencies. So I do enjoy learning a lot about the economics concepts / finance concepts. I actually studied actuarial, which is pretty much finance and economics plus maths. I've always enjoyed those aspects. But yeah, predominantly it's mainly been more like the finding out the inefficiencies of things and then almost like utilizing them as well. So yeah.
Very cool. And for those that don't know, right, and that perhaps they're living under a rock, like what is Relevance AI today?
Yeah, sure. So Relevance AI, we're essentially the home of the AI workforce. We're one of the largest AI agents building platform in the world where you can essentially build and customize and create your very own AI agents and get them to actually work with each other as well via a multi-agent system. But we allowed essentially low-code people to actually be able to build their very own AI agents that can be deployed across the business. So whether it's in sales, marketing, people, HR, legal, etc. And yeah, we're utilized by some of the largest companies in the world, like Canva, Databricks, Safety Culture, Autodesk, etc. So yeah.
Epic. Now, I must admit, Jackie, I'm very excited for today's discussion. One, because you and I have met before. It's a very cool business. Two, because AI agents is like one of the most trending things in all of Google right now. So hopefully it'll be an interesting topic. And I want to really dive into the AI agent world. But before we get there, just give us like a little snapshot. You're 28 years old. Like, what was the journey to start a business, and like at what age? Just like a little bit of a snapshot of like the context to start the business.
Yeah, I started Relevance right out of university. So I had finished my undergrad, and then it was either go to FANG or start my own company. And then COVID hit. Decided to start my own company. I always had a burning passion to build. So it was a pretty easy decision, especially when COVID hit. It was like, if I'm going to be home, I might as well be home building stuff. That really helped with the decision. And then, it was always like one of the key reasons why I wanted to start the business was actually because I really wanted to help get the world exposed to essentially machine learning and AI and bring it to the workplace. That was something I found a lot of joy whenever I can help someone automate like something that was really manual and tedious in their job. I did this in my previous work. So during university, I had worked both individually with my co-founder. We built multiple mobile apps to about 7.5 million users, number one on the App Store, Play Store.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
It was a fun time. It was pretty much the way for me to not have to necessarily work, and it paid for like a lot of my like expenses, uni, etc. Cool. But also as well as that, I actually did also work in the industry. So I worked in like Big Four consulting, and also like one of the largest insurance companies in Australia. Just bringing machine learning to the industry, saw the joy of like being able to help, make people's lives better via that was just really enjoyable. So decided to then start Relevance. We went through many different iterations. To be honest, at the start it was much more of a like very deeply technical solution in the form of like a vector database, but then we evolved and pivoted into essentially building the home of the AI workforce. I think about 2.5 years ago, and then. Just stayed on track there. We were absolutely obsessed with it and continue to be very obsessed with it. It's exactly aligns with the kind of like mission I want to drive to bring a lot of this automation to the world. So,
Very cool, man. And so, a big part of the journey for you guys and what, some people may have seen in the headlines recently is the capital raising process. You guys raised the last recent round, correct me if I'm wrong, 37 million USD. And I think it's a really interesting topic I want to kind of unpack, right? So if you were to kind of look at what were the three key learnings on your side through the journey of, let me start again. What would be the three biggest things you've learned that you could share with the audience for the capital raising process?
Yeah. So I would say like one of the key things just in general with a capital raising process, actually probably be prepared for it. I say this even though we weren't as prepared for it for the recent one because it was actually preempted. So what that means is like the investor came to us first with like the term sheets, etc. But be prepared. If you're going to especially go out and fundraise, we didn't do it for our latest raise, but like if you were to go out and fundraise, like, have your deck prepared, have your like data room prepared. Just have those things prepared because like that's going to happen and you want to come in prepared. And by being prepared, you also can make sure that you do it in a timely fashion. You don't want to have the process drag out too much. You still need to, spend most of your time on what's most important, which is the business. And that's why we actually took the preemptive raise because we just wanted to focus on the business. And at the end of the day, that's what matters the most. Like you can raise much easier if you just have a solid, product, a solid business, solid set of customers, etc. So yeah.
And what else? Anything else there?
I mean, I think this is more important to just company building in general, but like having a clear vision and mission is really important. I'm a technical co-founder, so like it's interesting because I think for the first almost 2 years of relevance, we didn't really have a very clear like, vision statement, mission statement, or even just set of cultural values on like, what kind of people we want to work with, etc. But actually putting that down is really important because it almost like kind of highlights your opinion of the world or your opinion of how the industry should work. And yeah, once we set out that clear mission and vision and even cultural values, everything just became easier. So I would say like, yeah, if you were to fundraise, like that's one of the key things. It's not just about like, what exactly does the product do? It's like, where do you want the end state to be like?
Hey, cool story, bro. Eat with Purpose Cookbook has now sold $250,000 worth of books. It'd be a way cool story if we got to our $1 million goal. So why don't you jump onto eatwithpurpose.net and buy it, please?
What do you see the end state to be like? And you almost want that to also be a way you select investors as well, because like it's not just about like, hey, this investor wants to invest in me, but it's also about selecting the right long-term partner, because it's like once you bring on an investor, it's forever. It's not it's not like, oh, they give me the money, I can go operate the business, etc. Like these are people that you're working with, that you're going to be having a very regular cadence with. So making sure you select the right one and who aligns and understands your vision is really, really important.
It's interesting, right, as we talk about that, because I'm right now in the process, which is my first time raising capital. I've done the business sale thing, so I know what that looks like. I've never done the capital raising thing. And it's really interesting because, as I hear you talk about it, I think about some of the preconceived notions I had before I went in, and then now what I've learned. And one of the things you touched on there was like vision. And it's a really interesting juggle, right? Because like as a founder, you know that you've gone through multiple iterations to be where you are. Yeah. And so this concept of having a clear vision is like, well, it's kind of challenging because and I'll speak from my behalf, is like one thing I know is for certain, I will will my way into it being successful. Yeah. and perhaps the version that I'm presenting to the world right now is not the version that will be successful. But what I know is true is like, I will make it work through continuously iterating or refining to get to the right outcome. So it's like this weird balance between like creating almost like too early in days. It's like you're creating this clear vision, but like you haven't yet had enough customer feedback to tell you like, well, is that the right vision or the wrong vision? And so it's just like this interesting dichotomy of like kind of wrestling. But then you look at some of the people who've done the best job of raising capital. Let's say, let's take the original founder of WeWork, and he painted the world's best vision ever and collected billions and billions and billions. Turned out to be mostly a fraud, but like really, really good at doing that. And so you do have to get really good at painting that, because that's been one of the problems that people like push back to us. It's like, oh, it's not clear enough on the other end, and it's like, well. Yeah, no, not yet.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's something that, takes a lot of iteration, and it almost comes to you. Like when we kind of set the mission and vision, it was like, it kind of came to us. It's like, holy crap, this is the thing we want to spend like the rest of our time with. And I think the key thing there, and it's coming from me where I originally am I'm deeply introverted, if people don't notice, but I'm actually very deeply introverted. I actually had to almost like recharge by spending time alone, etc. But one of the things that I was very bad at was actually, whenever there is a conflict of opinions, I would just kind of like go with the flow. But what's actually really important about like stating the mission and vision is actually just coming up with like your opinionated version of how you want to do this company, that it actually is in most people. Like, even if you start to question even some parts of like how this business should operate, it comes out. And it's just putting that into like essentially a statement or even like a paragraph. I think, it doesn't always have to be a single like a sentence. It can be like a paragraph, but it then becomes like your North Star or like your kind of guidance on like how to operate and how to even answer questions, right? Like, for example, like one of our engineers or one of our team members will ask me like, oh, should I go with approach A or approach B? And I'll be like, well, which one gets us closer to our vision of being the home of the AI workforce? Well, then it's B. Then I'm like, yeah, just go make that decisions. And a lot of on a day-to-day, there's a lot of these micro decisions. And by just having that clear vision and mission, it helps people make the decision on like, hey, this is getting closer to it. And you also have to remind people of it. But yeah, it's quite crucial, and I can totally get like your perspective. I was like, we're still early. We still need to like kind of refine that. But I think it's just a matter of like just picking an opinionated one. It's not necessarily like the exact one that you'll stick with for the like the long term, but at least it says like, hey, at this moment, this is what I believe in, and this is why I'm almost doing this as well, like the mission part as well. So yeah.
Very cool, man. So let's dive into the world of AI agents.
Yeah.
And for the audience who may not be exposed to this or may have seen some things on YouTube that have gone viral but they haven't dived in, what's the simplest way you can describe like what is an AI agent and what does it do?
Yeah. So how is an AI agent different to like, let's say LLMs like ChatGPT, et cetera? So an AI agent is essentially now not just able to generate like, things, but it's actually able to take actions on your behalf. So let's say an AI agent, like an LLM is really good at like writing emails, but an AI agent can now actually not just write the email, but actually send the email on your behalf. So that's how, the industry defines it in many different ways, but at least that's how I start to really see the distinction. And yeah, it's able to, update your CRM on your behalf. It's able to upload stuff on your behalf. It's able to edit things on your behalf. As soon as it's able to actually perform actions that affect things beyond just the text itself, that's when it starts to become an AI agent. So yeah.
Awesome. Now, I'm reasonably close to this world, right? Like I'm deeply interested in it. I spend somewhere probably like 5 to 7 hours a week trying to like kind of stay at the forefront, see what's happening, the new models, all the new stuff that's happening. And one of the things I definitely noticed with the world of AI, like it's very obvious, like we're in a hype machine right now, it's very topical. Every new YouTube video is like, this model is going to change the game, with a shocked face on the thumbnail. And then you see kind of the marketing, and often that is good from afar. You use it and it ends up kind of being far from good. And so what I would love to get from you is like, you guys now, like how many AI agents have been deployed across the Relevance product?
I think, across the product.
Yeah.
I need to check the stats, but it's probably over, 100 to 200,000 every month.
Amazing. 100 to 200,000 new agents added each month?
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay, perfect. So my question is like, what are the most practical use cases that you've seen people go like, I have this problem and be specific, and here's the outcome that's had, and whether that outcome be additional revenue or save costs, like whatever it is, really keen for the audience to actually hear the practical use cases.
Yeah, a lot of our use cases are actually in go-to-market and then secondary like back office. So we pretty much try not to do any code-related ones, but in the back end, some of it actually is powered by like code generation. But yeah, we do a lot of those use cases. So like, for example, in go-to-market, a lot of enrichment. So researching, prospects, researching about people that you're about to meet, and just help you be prepared. It's a lot more proactive way of doing it as well. So like, instead of you having to go on like an interface and type up a person's name to get like the whole research report, it can proactively serve it to you like as the meeting happens. Like, okay, well, 5 minutes before the meeting happens, it automatically sends you on Slack or on email like this research report of who you're about to meet, or even just like all past interactions you've had with them via like your CRM data. So that's really popular. A lot of marketing use cases as well regarding like content generation. Content generation not just in the form of text, but in the form of like images, videos, etc. Those two are really popular. One that's gaining a lot of steam is actually what we call meeting agents. So agents that will actually sit and listen to meetings, and then pretty much not save you from having to write notes, but also save you from trying to remember what's the next actions. It can automatically perform those actions for you. It's like we have people that have deployed meeting agents, not just for a pre-call capability, but also post-call capability, where it's like, as the meeting finishes, I'm going to automatically add all the questions and answers into like an FAQ database. I'm going to add all the tickets that needs to be done into like my Jira, into Linear, etc. So that's pretty popular. And we're also starting to see during call as well, as we kind of roll out that capability, like during a call, like telling you, hey, you've been talking like nonstop for the past 5 minutes. Slow down. You're talking to a prospect.
Interesting.
You haven't, they haven't been able to say anything yet. So that's starting to happen. So
almost like live coaching to that person.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Because like in a workplace, a lot of where work happens happens in meetings and in chat. So being able to take that data and give it to agents, and then for agents to kind of then do work is like quite important. So yeah, we're seeing that kind of really rise in popularity.
That's really interesting. What I find is really cool, like as your business now gets to the scale, right? You're adding 100,000, 150,000, whatever that is per month. Your sample set is big enough now to start to notice things like trends. And that's really interesting because they're seeing like, okay, here's a use case you might have thought of, but then you actually get to see like the live action and people take that in. You can kind of start to tell like where things are shifting, which I think is really interesting. Talk to me about from a standpoint, like, do you see AI agents in its current form as a productivity tool, so something that helps someone enhance the productivity, or an efficiency tool which gets, they do more jobs in less time? Like, what do you see as the most useful?
Sorry, do you mind repeating that?
Of course. So, I think there's so I'll talk from my opinion. I think right now there's a lot of common misconception where people think if I use AI, it's an efficiency tool, i.e. if instead of using 8 hours to do the task I normally do, I can do it in 4. Yeah. And then the thinking is like, oh, all of a sudden everybody loses their jobs. The way I use AI in my life is like, actually, it might take me the same amount of time to do a task. So I'll talk recently for the pitch deck for our capital raise show. It took me 10 to 15 hours to complete the deck. Had I not had AI, it would have taken me 10 or 15 hours to do the deck. But the end outcome, the productivity I gained, was far better because of the deeper insights I did. Like, what do you see that balance between efficiency and productivity?
Yeah, so it's essentially agents for either Copilot or Autopilot use cases. Yes. Is like how we like to break it down. So Copilot use cases mean it's more about like improving. You're still doing the task. It's just helping you do the task much faster. Whereas Autopilot, it's like you can actually now offload the task to the agent, and then you're just more like human in the loop to like make sure that it's doing it correctly and just approving stuff in certain phases. We tend to focus more on the Autopilot use case because that's where people get a lot of joy out of, because it's like, I just don't have to do this task anymore. Like I can hand it off. And I think a lot of people like now get into the worry of like job loss, etc. Right? But what's actually happening is that when that task gets automated, it just frees you up to do more of other tasks. There's like so many tasks in most people's like roles that they need to fulfill. We both run a startup. We know how many different tasks we have to do on a daily basis, and sometimes we just really don't want to do. So being able to hand that off to agents is actually quite enjoyable. Now the Copilot one, it still exists. Like where there's certain tasks that just still requires like human to mainly do, like for example, like conducting a call, sales call. You probably want like a person to still be doing that to build a relationship, etc. And then you can actually have agents to be much more of a co-pilot. It's like, oh, you need to breathe, you need to to do these things like slightly better. So it's really just the difference between like co-pilot and autopilot. We focus more on autopilot, but Copilot is just as important of like a use case and a modality. So yeah,
interesting. And like seeing the growth of what you've gone through the last couple of years, like where do you see the world with AI agents changing over the next few years?
Yeah, I think one of the changes for AI agents, like technical, I'll speak to the non-technical side first. Is that there will probably be more autopilots being created, where it's like actually able to do that work completely autonomously, and you just have human in the loop for like quality checks, etc. And we'll start to see that more in work that people just don't really enjoy doing. Like BD is a good example. People don't really love doing the
business development.
Yeah, at least the cold calling part. Yeah. A lot of people don't like doing that because it's not really personal. It's just a numbers game. Yeah. Being able to have like agents completely automate some of that. Even stuff like booking people in for times. Everyone hates doing that. Are you available at this time? No, I'm not available at this time. Oh, what time zone are you in, etc. Like just those kind of work is going to be more and more autopilot agents will be able to do that work on their behalf, and so those people can focus on more important and work that is unique to them. So we'll definitely see the rise of that. The more technical side, we'll definitely see the rise of multi-agent systems. A lot, like if we even look at, like, let's say for example LLMs, they're called a mixture of experts. So they're actually multiple smaller LLMs kind of combined together to then produce the output. And we're going to start seeing more and more multi-agent systems of like different tasks actually being broken down into multiple agents doing those tasks. So yeah.
Talk to us about that, this concept of the multi-agent system, like from the lens of like a practical use case. Like what might that look like?
Yeah, so I actually think the way to think about it is, to be honest, closer to thinking about it like teams and people. So like, let's say when you're, a 5-person startup, right? One person could be doing like 10 different things. But as you grow, you can now have like specialists doing those 10 different things. So you now have like, let's say in marketing, you have content writer, you now have like product marketing, etc. So multi-agent system allows you to essentially break down that task now into more and more finer detail, and actually have individual expert agents performing that task now at a higher accuracy, at higher reliability, and a higher visibility as well. So that's kind of like what it means. And how's it going to affect like us? Like how's it going to affect teams? It just means that now I can build like, let's say 3 to 5 agents. You can build 3 to 5 agents. If we need to collaborate on something, I can just get my agent to collaborate with your agent and facilitate some of the collaboration that way. And there will be a lot more cross-department collaboration because now you can easily essentially provide resources to each other to collaborate that way. Whereas nowadays, for one team to work with another team, you really have to think about resourcing, etc. And you inadvertently create pretty much like inefficiency / bottleneck for other teams because you can't necessarily provide the resource for them to collaborate with each other, etc. So via agents, that can now be a bit more fluid.
Interesting. So here's a stat that I may butcher.
Yeah.
So I do apologize. I was having dinner the other night and I met the CMO of Salesforce. And Salesforce had built Agentforce, their internal agent tooling. And at the time, before they had Agentforce, they had 9,000 customer support representatives.
Yeah.
They then rolled out Agentforce. They found 88% of their ticket volume was handled by agents.
Yeah.
So you have 9,000 humans, 88% of the tasks are handled by AI agents, and now you have 9,000 humans you don't necessarily need. Now, what I saw online is Salesforce decided 50% of them would be redeployed, 50% of them would be undeployed, made redundant. And so if I look at that and then extrapolate it's 5 years from today, I think there is a very strong argument to say there might be a bit of trouble on the horizon in terms of what it means to be human. Now, I know there's the scary question, but I'm keen to get your opinion as like, it's 5 years from today, all of these multi-agent systems are talking, our systems are collaborating. What does it mean to be human?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, so I can tell in the short term, there's definitely going to be impact on like essentially the job markets. I can't really necessarily predict that, but I always look at a lot of these things from the medium / long term. I definitely do think for the medium / long term, what ends up happening is that you're going to get more of a democratization of essentially talent. So you no longer have to have companies being, 10,000 people in sizes where they have all the talent, condensed in that company. There's actually going to be more companies being produced thanks to the democratization of talent. Like more people will kind of be, now that they don't need to operate with 10,000, maybe they'll only operate with like 1,000. And then what happens to that 9,000? It doesn't just mean that they always don't have jobs. It actually means that they now can go, start their own companies. They now can work for, like smaller companies, etc. And what that actually means for society in general, is actually more different types of goods and services being produced. So, let's say you've always really wanted, I don't know, a banana flavored chocolate spread. That probably exists, but let's say, I don't know, spicy banana flavored chocolate spread. Nowadays, it might not be produced because, it would require 1,000 people, but thanks to essentially AI, maybe it's only 100 people to come up with the recipe, etc. And that's better for humanity because now you have more kind of like different types of goods you can select from, and also more competition, which also can help drive the price down and everything. So ultimately, that's what it would mean for like, you know, us humans. And also, I think in terms of from a work perspective, it means we can actually just focus on jobs that are quite really unique to us and really focus on things that we really enjoy. And like, let's also not forget, like even, and we can also look at this very historically. Even with automation, like, you know, coming in, there is sometimes still cases where people still prefer like, you know, hand-stitched clothes, for example. Like there is still that element that where people still like, and that's still better for the industry as well, because then those experts can bring in like, you know, their hand, you know, crafted things and distilling down to agents to be like, okay, this is how you can perform this task, etc. So there will always be that level of like, you know, huge depth, and then also now just more people being able to perform the tasks that they really enjoy. So yeah,
I like it. Now, do you mind, Jackie?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to pretend I'm a listener. I've heard that, and I'm going to be the devil's advocate for them, if you don't mind. If we think about the world, often the 80-20 rule applies to like so many things, right? Like so many things, like some of these businesses, you have like 20% of the concentration makes up 80% of the work. You've got, you know, 20% of the companies make up 80% of the earnings for a country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if we think about that rule, and then we think about this concept of the democratization, one of these, you know, pesky listeners might be thinking, but what happens when, you know, let's take that example, 9,000 people lose their jobs. The reality is the ones that keep their jobs are the ones that are probably not part of that 80-20 rule, and the rest are maybe not capable of building businesses. Maybe they're not capable of making that delicious, spicy chocolate banana spread. In that scenario, what does the world actually look like?
Yeah, I mean, that's where like really kind of like, you know, more and more types of like education systems to help upskill those people into the roles that they specifically, you know, enjoy doing and everything. Because I also think like in those cases, it is a matter of like people were just forced into a career path that they don't necessarily actually want to do. Like they just kind of did it for more like, you know, other aspects. I think that's where, you know, governments really need to, and I think governments don't really think about this enough, and they should, is like to think about like how does like, you know, in this more AI automation like heavy world, how can we upskill people to prepare for this like, you know, iteration? And one of the things that you know, people talk about often is like, you're not going to get replaced by AI. You're actually going to get replaced by someone who's really good at AI. Like, so, you know, the natural choice there is to get good at AI yourself. Like, we don't sell directly into like, let's say, for example, like, you know, specific people who don't actually interact with the AI agents at all. We actually sell into like AI ops people who actually will be the ones who are building and maintaining the agents. And they're the ones that are actually helping really drive the company's, you know, productivity, efficiency up in general. But I mean, that's the wonderful thing about like economics. Eventually, it will start to kind of work out for everyone, and we have governments in place to make sure that you know, if there is any almost like heavy arbitrage opportunity, that it's still beneficial / blocked, so that you know, humanity in general benefits from it. So yeah.
Love it. And I could not back you up more with this concept of like, it's about the people who are using it. You know, we've all heard that quote, but I think there's something that I've been thinking about a lot in the last year, because now we've started a new business. Yeah. We started our first business, now it's like 14 years ago, right? So I was 20 years old. Yeah. 12 or 13 years ago. And the rules of the game back then, so different to now. And the thing I've been thinking about so much is like right now, there's never been a better time to start a business. The things that we have access to our fingertips, like a product like Relevance, like gives people a really unfair advantage if they're paying attention. You know, like I have a number of people that I now know in my network, in my sphere, that use tools like Relevance. Just to share with you, 22 years old, making $2.5 million in revenue, started the company 7 months ago. And it's like, well, you can't be an expert in the tool because the tool has only existed for 2 years.
Yeah.
But that's the opportunity, right? It's like people who just pay enough attention to watch YouTube videos, you become an expert. So they're literally right now, because everything moves so fast, you just have to pay attention. Like I'm, funnily known in the social media world as an AI expert, which is like a joke to me because all I do is watch some YouTube videos. Like you actually have a company, you're far further in that field, but just because I just pay attention, people are like, oh wow, you like know a lot about that. And so that's the opportunity right now, is like people just pay attention and use what's available.
Yeah.
And a cool example, right, is that for me, like I also always think about when I do these is like, what are the practical use cases that people can take away? And if I connect your business relevance for what's happening in the world, one of the things that I think is a crazy opportunity, which I'm seeing a lot of people use relevance for, is VO3 and the new video models. And if you seen any of there's like this viral trend that's happening right now, which is like these Yetis, and the Yetis are doing crazy things in like going to parks or going to fields and just talking random shit, but the videos are blowing up. Yep. So someone who has no talent holding a camera, no talent editing, all they did was create a creative prompt, used VO3, and then create a video that gets millions of impressions. Then last week I saw someone had seen that viral trend, then gone, how do I connect that with my business? So then a dentist in America did the Yeti video. The Yeti skydives, breaks his teeth, goes to his dentist, fixes his teeth, millions of views. And so again, someone who has just typed in a few creative prompts has now driven millions of impressions to his business. And the reason I connect that to relevance is I'm now seeing people creating like the AI agents to go and create the multiplication of all of these videos so they can use for their business. So it's really crazy like what people have access to. And one of the things I was thinking about last week is, there are people on the fence here which say, something like an AI video is like, it's the death of creativity. We're no longer creative as society. But I think it's like, it's an expansion of creativity.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because previously you had to know how to use the video camera. You had to know how to use lighting and editing. Sorry, Kai, I'm roasting your field. Jokes. But now all you have to do is be creative with your prompting. So they're like the forcing function, like the limiting force is like you just have to use your words creatively. And so it actually allows more people to be creative, which I think is really interesting. One of those things we can't really think about when you think about what the future of AI looks like.
Yeah, 100%. Like it essentially democratizes the creativity, and it also increases increases the bar for everyone of like what does high quality mean as well. Like as kind of more and more of the market now sees the quality of like, essentially the democratization of like high quality video becomes more democratized. Maybe before it's only people who have access to like high quality cameras, which is what, like, sometimes up to tens of thousands, or if you need, have high quality lighting. Now that thanks to AI, that could all be like much more available. Then that is no longer just the means of quality. Quality now means like, okay, what is actually the creative part of it? Like, what does the story actually tell, etc. So I 100% agree. Like, this is only actually increasing it. I think, with anything, there's always two sides. So I don't really think about that too much. As mentioned in the past, I come from the fact that I kind of was raised in like two very different cultures. Helps me understand like there's like pros and cons and reasons for both sides. And it's just a matter of like, how can we address both and then ultimately progress as humanity going forward. So yeah, like it's similar to like how automation has kind of been brought into the world for like manufacturing, right? Like now, thanks to that, like maybe back then, I don't know, the quality of peanut butter maybe wasn't as high because everything like it wasn't accessible to everyone. I think fruit was a pretty good example, if I remember correctly. But like fruit was not accessible to a lot of people, so maybe it wasn't fruit. No, I think it was sugar. I forgot the exact, so don't correct me on this. But yeah, like there's certain types of like food/processed food that wasn't really available to people before because of all the kind of manual effort required. But now it's a lot more accessible to people. So now, thanks to that, the bar of what quality means has gotten higher and higher and higher. So that's only been good for people. So yeah.
Love it. So let's talk about, so you successfully do your raise, $37 million US. You're 28 years old. How does one go about strategically deciding how to spend that kind of cash to grow their business?
I mean, quick correction. It's actually 24 mil US, 37 mil AU. But what's like, how do we essentially spend it? So what's really we focus on is like actually spending this capital to expand into more areas to be closer to customers. That's the main reason. We're really expanding in SF quite a lot because we want to be closer to a lot of our customers there. We have quite a large amount of customer base in the US. So now we don't have to worry about like time zone. Now we can get more intimate, understand their needs, etc. So that's where we spend a lot of the raise on. On top of that, just general R&D, trying to keep making things better. But that's really one of the biggest proponent is like, how can we spend this money to get even closer to our customers? Really understand what are their needs, how can we improve, and then go from there.
And with the kind of the growth trajectory you've been on, so 2 years ago, how many employees, team members did you have?
15, 20-ish.
And today?
80.
80?
Yeah.
What are your biggest learning lessons from hiring talent?
So I can even give more context here. So we started off around like, I'd say like our first round, which was like seed round. We were probably at like 6 or 5 people. And then we actually quickly grew to 22. We definitely made that mistake. We hired too much, too fast. Didn't really think about our talent philosophy. So then we had to bring it back down because there were people that we were just hiring that wasn't really like actually a good fit for our team and everything. So that really has taught us hire based off like your cultural values, based off what the business actually needs, rather than what the business wants sometimes. Because I think once you come into money, you kind of it becomes very easy to want to spend it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I want to hire this. Is like, well, the business doesn't actually need it. The customer doesn't actually need it yet. So really just not being tempted by that is, I think, quite crucial. I think the zero interest phenomenon era really created a lot of companies that just hired a whole bunch of people because of want rather than need.
What's really the zero interest phenomenon you're talking about?
So I think it was like a little bit during COVID. I forgot what's the exact time period, but it was the time period where every company was raising like crazy. Unicorns were being created every other week. And those were companies that were pre-revenue, raising 300 mil or something like that, and started hiring tons of people, and it was pretty much growth at all costs kind of phase. That was a lot of hiring based off want rather than need. So I really try to hire based off a need rather than necessarily want. And even if it is want, just being very clear about what's the goal of it, or just having a lot more kind of put a lot more thought into that, and just making sure people you bring in is very aligned to your cultural values, very talented, etc. So yeah.
And you personally these days, how many of those interviews do you sit on in a month?
I try to take as many as possible. Especially for the last stage. I think it's not just for my sake. It's actually also for the other side as well. Just to get them to understand who's the founder of this company, what is he like, etc. I think that's quite a crucial component. I try not to be on at least one part of the interview stage, or at least all three of the founders try to at least be part of that, just to make sure that we're getting close to that. Because at the same time, we are founders that operate at all levels, meaning we will IC, meaning we'll get pretty deep into it. We don't really want to not be involved in certain projects. We give a lot of people autonomy, but we still, help them as much as possible. And being exposed in that interview process also just, shows them how we work, how, the team operates. People ask some pretty deep and tough questions, and, we're pretty transparent people. So we answer those questions as well. So yeah.
It's been interesting, right, with the hiring process. So we've just been hiring senior engineers, and obviously it's early days for us now for our next one. And for the first time ever, I was been in a couple of these interviews, and I almost feel like I'm pitching to a VC, because the senior engineering talent has so many great options.
Oh yeah.
And they want, there is an expectation of equity, and they want to make sure they're choosing their time in their career with the company that's going to grow the biggest. And we've had one that said, let us know when you pivot. I don't really believe in the product. And it's a really interesting addicting to be like, oh, okay, like I'm almost like selling myself.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
selling myself once more.
It's definitely that process, and I believe it should be that process because it's like, the most talented people usually do have choices, and yeah, it can become a bit of like, like VCs like. Here's me pitching my company to for you to invest in, but also they then have to reverse pitch you. It's like, okay, well, this is why you should take our money, etc. So yeah, it's very much like that. And I think it's quite crucial for founders to be a part of that. And yeah, we also believe in like including like our team in the hiring process as well, not just like completely handed off to others. So yeah.
I've got two last questions for you, Jackie. The first one, it's such an interesting time to build a business. Obviously, I touched on that before. But the interesting part is like what's happening in the space. So if we look at recently Meta, Zuck's been given a $10 billion allowance to go and poach AI researchers, AI engineers, $100 million a piece, just as their like sign-on bonus. You've got Google investing crazy amounts of money. You've got all of this stuff happening, and it's really around your field, right? So how do you go about thinking about competition in such it's such an incredible velocity that we're in the tech world today?
I mean, I really enjoy it. Like I enjoy being like fast and just shipping a lot, and as well as I do enjoy like competing as well. But yeah, it's definitely. I mean, one of the quotes I heard like recently, and someone like multiple ex-founders or current like CEOs have told me is like, used to be like 5 years ago or even like shorter than that, pretty much pre-AI, you could set out a business strategy that is 3 years long, and it'll be pretty viable. Nowadays, you're lucky if you could get away with like a year or like 6 months, because things just change so quickly. New technology comes out that is like absolutely changing what's possible, and that really excites me as like a technologist, because there's more things to figure out. There's more complex kind of almost like equations for you to figure out like, okay, well, how does this fit into like what you're currently doing, et cetera. And I think that's really, really, really fun. And as you kind of mentioned, it does mean now there's even more opportunity. Like there is more a chance to really disrupt like industries. Like we're seeing, like let's say for example, we recently just launched like a voice capability for people to build voice agents, and we're seeing people absolutely crush it with like handling like deliveries where previously you would have to have staff, take calls and sometimes miss calls because your restaurant staff are, busy serving guests. They can't always take the phone call that is not really consistent. So now they can actually have AI agents that take the phone calls and then book on behalf of the person calling, for example. And that was for example, a business that was like just growing like crazy. And we only launched this like, I think 2 weeks ago. So just things like that, there's a lot of opportunity, and I think it's a great time to really, get into the space. And the technical barrier has really been like, lowered as well. So yeah.
Love that. Last question for you. With everything that's happened in your journey so far, it's very early on. You got plenty more to go.
Oh, 100%.
But what are you most proud of to date?
I'm most proud of the team. I think like we have an amazing team. Like I really enjoy working with the team as well. Like I don't come into the office and be like, oh yeah, like there's never been a day like that. I really enjoy the team and just really proud of their growth as well. Like we have some people who've just honestly like grown so quickly and so tremendously. One thing I try to like really iterate to people is like, hey, like if you just grow, like thanks to compound effects, like if you just grow 10% every month, that's 300% a year. You can grow 3x in like, whatever skill set every year, at least. Like that's amazing. So, and to have people that grow so quickly is something that I really, really enjoy seeing. The other part I'm proud of is just like that, just survival. Like, I think one of the most important things for startup is just to survive. You never know what you're doing is when the trend, like, hits at the right time. And I think for us, the first, it's not as dire as that sounds, but like, we could get to this stage because we survived. Like we went through all these different iterations. We really like kind of lived through it. And now we can get to the stage where, we still have to think about survival. Like you never know when some major technology shift happens, and you have to be prepared for it, and making sure that our team has that mentality as well. So yeah.
Love it. Jackie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.